This program is brought to you by thepodcastfactory.com.
Ben Settle, super practical.
I'm not telling people to have a mistress. I'm teaching you, learn the lesson from the people who have a mistress, because there's many business lessons that apply.
Pious.
There's a part in the book of Revelation where Jesus says, I want you either hot or cold. I'm spewing lukewarm churches out. And I think it's a good way to look at your list.
Romantic to his very core.
Once in a while, I'll give my girl a present, like a Snickers bar or something.
And totes tender.
If someone asks you to walk on eggshells, smash the eggshells and let the chips fall wherever they may.
Adored by feminists everywhere.
It takes a strong woman to admit when she's wrong.
Not a judgmental bone in his entire body.
I look at all the free information people give just on Facebook and I go, what a bunch of time hose.
Has a PhD in armchair philosophy.
In the land of dumbasses, the smartass is king.
You'll never meet a more sensitive guy.
If you really care about people, you shame the hell out of them. This is Ben Settle of the bensettle.com podcast, ready to shame you into doing the right thing.
You're welcome.
Now, Jonathan, you were just telling me before, and I didn't know this. Now you were just telling me this, that Michelle Spiva did a whole episode on shaming society last year, right? And she's one of your other. She doesn't podcast as regular as I do, but she's one of your podcast clients, right?
She's up on the website. Yeah, she hasn't done it in about a year, but yeah, she did a show on shaming, and I thought it was an interesting concept. And for you to bring it back, I do believe that you're right. Our society is fucked if we don't start shaming people soon.
Absolutely. And so I'm glad that at least two other people agree with me. So that's good to know.
Three of us against the world.
All right. So I told you I would do something a little less inflammatory this time. And so I'm bringing it back to Wing Chun. I love talking about Wing. You know I love talking about Wing Chun. Of course. If anyone doesn't know when I'm talking about Wing Chun Kung Fu, it's a form of Kung Fu. There's like, I don't know, 400 or 500 styles of Kung Fu out there. This is the one I like to train in. It's the one that Bruce Lee originally was learning until then he left China. I don't think he learned the full system, but he knew most of it. And then that's when he created Jeet Kune Do after that. So it's very related. You'll see some Hollywood actors getting in on it, like Robert Downey Jr. is big on it. And, it's just, to me, it's a good fighting system. And it also has a lot of business applications. So unfortunately, Jonathan, I don't train as much as I used to. I used to train once a week. I would go in there for 2 hours because it's an hour and a half to 2 hour drive for me. And I don't know. I don't want to drive that much. It's all the way in the Burgle, which is not my favorite place. But I go once a month. Well, I go 2 days a month now. So, I've cut it down from, 8 hours of training to 4 hours of training. But I'm still learning it. I'm still, going ahead a little bit, still consistently, but not as much. But
do you practice at home?
Okay, so this is where I need to be shamed, all right? This is where I need. I do sometimes, but not nearly enough. And Sifu should shame me. He should shame me a lot more about that. And I'm always like, oh man, I'm going to hear about. But he's like, Ben, I'm not here to control your life, and what you do when you're not here is up to you. You're a grown adult. I.e., he's shaming me basically. Yeah. And that's good though, because that shame could save my life if I don't practice this and understand it. And what if I get an altercation? It could save my life. And so shaming works. All right, doesn't have to always be I brought up the extreme examples last week, but I'm saying you use it all the time. You don't even realize you're doing it because it works. All right, so one of the things that I seem to have to be told this over and over and over, not so much anymore, but especially I used to, is this idea in Wing Chun called you always want to have forward intent. And with that, I've tried to explain this just from a fighting point of view. You always want to have like your arms and everything. You should always be going into like a controlled forward so you can stop force that's coming at you, or you can deflect force that's coming at you. If you put your hand, like your arm out in front of you, like you're going to salute somebody or something, it's very easy for someone to push that hand into your face if they wanted to. But if you have forward intent with that hand, you'll actually deflect a punch coming at you. So I hope that makes sense. We call that a Wu Sao in Wing Chun. Now I'm sounding like I know what I'm talking about, when I'm still very much an amateur at this stuff. But that's my whole point. It's forward intent. And everything I should be doing and everything in Wing Chun is based around forward intent. Controlled forward intent. Not too strong. You're not pushing as hard. It's not brute strength. It's just you're pushing forward all the time. And this has a very, very practical applications to the business world. And that, Jonathan, is what we're going to talk about. I'm not going to talk about shaming anymore.
Okay.
Right? I know you want me to. I know you want me to get you all riled up again.
Not possible. I'm zen right now.
I bet you, but I did you a favor though, because you got so riled up. I bet you got stronger from those angry push-ups.
I did.
That's what I'm thinking. And and anyone who got mad at me, by the way, if somebody listens got mad at me and was being like a little crybaby about it after listening to it, just realize that I'm glad that you're angry, and you feel free to give me those emotions. It's perfectly fine with me, because you'll wear yourself out. And then you'll think logically, and you'll understand that I'm right. All right. So if you were one of these people who got angry at last week's podcast, that's good. There's hope for you. All right. You're not complacent. You'll come to learn the right way to do things, i.e. my way, and it'll be just fine. With that said, now that would be a form of forward intent. I have fully intended to educate people, Jonathan, who disagree with me.
Kind of
forward intent. But in business now, what we do, like what we do, where most of us listening to this, and even if you're not, but most of us are selling online in some capacity. Some of us are selling both online and offline. Doesn't matter. There are things you should be doing to always have forward intent. If you don't have forward intent, I'm going to say this one more time. If you don't have forward intent in fighting, especially with Wing Chun, you can easily be thrown off balance. Your own strength can be used against you. Your own body parts can be used against you if you don't have that forward intent. At the same time, you can't be pushing so hard that you're using brute strength, because that then creates a vulnerability in you. In other words, if you push on somebody, and let's say, Jonathan, you and I are arm wrestling, and you're pushing, we're trying to kill each other in arm wrestling, and then you were as hard as you can trying to put my hand down, and I just let go of your hand, your hand's going to smash into the table, and you're probably going to break your hand. That's too much forward intent. It's got to be just enough for it, just a nice even forward intent. And so, by the way, there are Wing Chun actual Sifus who do listen to the show, because they've told me that they like when I talk about Wing Chun. I hope I have not said something stupid just now, but it would be possible. And they will shame me if it happens, and rightfully so. Okay, so no problem. See, once you start understanding that shaming is actually something, I told you I wouldn't talk anymore about shaming, but you know what? I say a lot of things. If you know that shaming actually helps you, and it's not something that's meant, if it's somebody's coming at you because they care about you, or something that you're mangling, it's not meant to hurt you. It's just that your ego will get in the way. And there are people that will shame you for something you don't need to be shamed for. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about stuff you know you're doing wrong. It's good. You should be thankful when someone shames you. So anyway, so what are some ways to have forward intent in business? That's what I want to get down to. Well, one way, Jonathan, I don't know why, I know I sound like a broken record with this. I constantly harp on it, and I am biased with this. I'm the first to admit it. I'm super biased, but I also happen to be correct, and that is daily emails. A daily email is forward intent in business. You are out there constantly pushing forward a little bit at a time every day, deflecting bad days, quite frankly, because you're consistently putting an email out there that's designed to sell. If you're doing it my way, at least with the email player's way, you're doing it in a way that's designed to sell. You will make sales if you have an offer that people want, and you have a list of people that want the offer. It's that simple. So you put your daily email out there every day. It's people complain about it. They get out of the habit of doing it, and that's when bad things happen. I have email player subscribers. They'll tell me, Ben, I mailed every day. I was making all these sales. I stopped mailing every day, and now I wasn't making sales anymore, and I wanted to slap myself. And I'm like, well, yeah, because you basically stopped having forward intents. Your competition was stealing the sales that you should have gotten. They were basically doing the equivalent of hitting you with your own hand. It's by not doing daily email, not having forward intent. And I hope that analogy holds, because that's about as good as I'm going to be able to get with that one. But, daily anything. Whether it could be daily posting on Facebook, if that's how you're making your money, which I think is a mistake to rely on that. It could be daily, whatever, but that daily consistent activity that brings in the sales is your forward intent. That's why it's so important to do things daily. Daily traffic. Now, Jonathan, I am not the king of traffic. Like, you're the king of podcasting. I am like the jester of traffic. I know nothing of it. I'm not even the jester. I'm not even allowed in the castle. I'm like the pauper of traffic. I'm like I don't know, who's like the lowest person in the kingdom. I'm like the guy who's about ready to have his head chopped off at the guillotine of traffic. Like, I'm not of paid traffic, at least. I'm not an expert at it. I don't pretend to be an expert at it. If somebody wants to shame me and to be better at it, that's fine. Be totally understandable. But there's something every day, and this is the thing I tell email player subscribers too. I'm like, you have a list, big or small, that's great. Mail it every day. But eventually what's going to happen is you're going to burn out all the buyers will have already bought. And the sales will not come in as fast and furious as they were. I mean, you'll still get sales, but it won't be like the first week you start mailing daily. It's going to go off the charts in most cases. Well, that's because they're not adding new names to their list. They don't have any forward intent. There's no forward intent in their lead gen, Jonathan.
Yeah.
They're now, there's paid traffic, right? There's like Facebook ads. There's which I've been kicked off of for a while now. I'm not really a big fan of Facebook ads as much as I used to be. In fact, a lot of paid advertising. I just think there's a lot of fraud out there with it, even with like Google AdWords and all that. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. I'm not saying anyone shouldn't do it. If it's making you money, great. It's just not something that, I'm not that into. I am going to be testing pay-per-view ads really soon here, Jonathan, hopefully.
Really?
Which is a very intriguing concept to me. And
where?
You know what
Where do you do that? YouTube?
You know what those are, right?
No, I don't.
You know what those are?
I don't think.
Oh, you don't know what those are? Okay, well, real basic thing. I mean, this is what I understand at least. There are people who download like games and stuff for free. And in the terms of services, if they download that game or that app for free, they have to allow people to be able to advertise to them. So let's say you sell email. Let's say you're selling podcasting, right? I believe there are sites that people into podcasting go to. Excuse me. I mean to burp in the thing there. Shame on me. Actually, I don't know how about podcasting work, but let's say you're an email marketing like me. Well, I can actually put like some code, I guess, on how this works. I don't know exactly how this works. That's why I'm still learning. That's why I'm saying I'm going to test it. My buddy, Eric McMillan, knows much more about this than I do. But basically, you could have it set so when someone goes to Aweber, your ad pops up for email marketing. Now, I don't know how good this traffic is for what I'm doing. I have no idea if this will be a good idea. I'm just going to test it and see what happens. But that's forward intent. I'm at least going to be trying. I'm also going to test LinkedIn ads because everyone says not to. So I gotta try it just to see. Oh, the ad, it's too expensive. Well, we'll see. If it's making me sales, it's not too expensive. But that would be forward intent. Going out there and constantly making yourself available, for example, for podcast interviews, which I think is one of the best ways to get traffic, by the way. I don't think it's like you get it in droves. I mean, there was a time you could go on like Entrepreneur on Fire, apparently, and you get like 12,000 visitors to your site after your interview came out. But I think those days are long gone. Yeah. Just because podcasting just isn't what it was back then. Certainly no offense to to him, but I'm trying to remember his name.
Nice.
I'm sorry.
The guy from the show.
What's Entrepreneur? Okay, I'm sorry. You know what? My bad. I should be shamed into this.
JLD, John Lee Dumas.
That's right, John. Who's a great guy. I mean, he's had me on his show. I mean, just a great guy.
Let me find something out because I never asked you. Was he like normal when he talked to you, or did he sound kind of like a robot?
Well, I've heard this. Okay, I've heard people complain about him about that. I don't think he's a robot. I think but people have to look at it from his point of view. Okay, he does a daily podcast.
Yeah.
Now, Jonathan, you know this, to do that is a lot of energy. Like it doesn't sound like a lot, but you have to it's not like I don't think he's fake. I've seen people complain. Oh, I felt disrespected. I'm thinking you're getting free traffic. What? Shut the hell up. It's like, it's like to me, I don't think personally, I like the guy. So it's maybe I got along with him fine. And we had a great conversation. He answered, at least when I was on there, it was the same questions he asked a lot of other people, but what's wrong with that? That's his format. And you know what? He does pretty well. And I can just tell you, I don't do the interview format for a reason because I find it exhausting. So to me, my hat goes off to him. So I'm a fan of his. I like him. And people who want to complain about it, I guess he's a robot. Who cares? It is free traffic for you. What are you complaining about? I still get people say, I found you from Entrepreneur on Fire and I joined Email Players, whatever. People find me through that. I'm happy with it. So I got no problem with them. I think, I've heard that and I've seen people complain, but Jonathan, we live in a time and place where people need to be shamed. And the complainers need to be shamed. And I am here to shame them. All right? I'm shaming them again. Point and shriek. Quit complaining. If you get on Entrepreneur on Fire, don't bitch and complain about it. Just enjoy the traffic. Whether you get a lot or not, who cares? This is what I'm talking about. It's forward intent. Every time I get interviewed on a podcast, or now it's these virtual summits. Like that's the new thing. It seems like, but it's forward intent. Like these people have given me access to their audience. I've given them good information to their audience that hopefully they will benefit from. It's forward intent for me. I am going forward, and that's the important thing. So that's all I'm going to say about traffic, because that's about all I know about traffic. I'm not saying, probably not the guy to ask about traffic. But anyway, so another thing you should be doing forward intent, in my humble but accurate opinion, is self-improvement. Jonathan, I don't know about you, but I mean, we talked about Earl Nightingale. And I'm like, was that not like, didn't you learn stuff from that? Even though it's stuff you've probably heard before, it's just like you hear it for the free. That's forward intent.
Yeah.
When you listen to something like that, it's forward intent when you read a book. Right now, I'm reading the book King of Madison Avenue. It's about David Ogilvy. I am learning some cool stuff in there. It is forward intent. It's a little bit every day that I didn't know yesterday. I'm big on biographies, but it doesn't have to be a biography. It could be any book. It could be any product you're going through, any type of course. You just go through a little bit every day. If you're a copywriter, you might want to look at a swipe file ad, a control ad every day, and just try to look at it and deconstruct it in your mind and see how you can do it better. That's forward intent. Self-improvement, whatever you do, it doesn't matter what it is. For me, it's writing emails that make money, so I'm writing emails every day. That is my forward intent. And as long as I keep doing that, I am way less vulnerable than people who aren't. Another thing people should have forward intent in my humble, but again, Jonathan, accurate opinion, is their health. Are you exercising? Are you eating good every day? I fell out of that. I was telling you I was doing that 5x5 thing, which I think is great. She said I injured my arm. So I had to like at the moment I have to take a couple weeks off. But basically I'll be doing back in there forward intent. Eating keto. I've been eating keto. This is great. That's forward intent every day. I'm a little healthier than I was, when I wasn't eating that way. It's forward intent. It's not something you do in one day. It's something you consistently do. You're constantly moving forward and you have that intent to go forward. And then finally, I'll just leave it with this. Another thing to have forward intent is your mindset, the way you think, the inner game of success. I hate using the term mindset. I'm the inner game of success. Avoiding toxic relationships is forward intent. You're actually deflecting them by just avoiding it. You don't want anything to do with them. And pursuing good business relationships and personal relationships, that's forward intent. Keeping up with the people that your loved ones and staying in their lives and not letting them go, that is forward intent. And so these are just a few ways of doing it, but it's a good principle of Wing Chun. It really is. It applies to so many things. And it applies, you can even pare this down to whatever you do every day. What do you have forward intent? Are you going forward in a controlled, stable, consistent manner? And if you do that and you ask yourself that question, I think you'll be just fine. So I don't know. Let's see. I got my notes here, Jonathan. I like to pretend I'm winging all this, but and next week we're going to talk about. I'll tell you what, we're going to talk about why it's a good thing for you to be uncomfortable and discontented, and why a lot of people go out of their way to avoid it, but really you should embrace it. And if you don't embrace it, you're never going to really do anything worthwhile. And if you do embrace it, you're going to find yourself making all kinds of money in sales that you weren't making before. So that'll be next week.
Can't wait for that. Another bensettle.com podcast is in the can. Be back in your earbuds next time. Thanks for tuning in.
You've been listening to the bensettle.com podcast. To download yourself a free issue of Ben's prestigious $97 per month email players newsletter, which is going to show you 24 ways to write emails people eagerly read, click, and buy from, head on over to www.bensettle.com. Well, off you go. You know it makes sense.
This is the podcastfactory.com.